Hello, welcome to episode 2 of econflix. Today's topic is microeconomics. So, microeconomics is the study of economic actions of individuals, of small groups, and other businesses. In our economic system, there are two sectors. There's the business sector and the household sector. So, the household sector would be individuals like you and I. We demand consumer goods like cars and computers. I am able to provide labor to the businesses sector by working at Subway and providing the labor to produce products. The business sector produces and supplies goods and services. A business would be the example of Subway, as they provide a job to someone like me and other high school students in order to earn a wage. Businesses demand resources for production. And then there's the government. In order for anyone to purchase anything, an individual or a business, the government collects taxes. There may be personal income taxes as well as corporate income taxes. When I, as well as other high school students, receive our paycheck, we can see that some taxes were taken off of the total amount. Taxes include, at least in my job, cash tips you receive, and usually for everyone, just your regular taxes. This may cause consumers to spend less on goods due to high taxes depending where you live and what you do as a living. So, in the market, buyers like you and I determine demand, and sellers like Walmart and King Soopers, for example, determine supply. Quantity demanded is the amount of a good that buyers are willing and able to purchase. When looking at the price of a hamburger, for example, one would prefer a hamburger that is cheaper, of course. If you were to do a survey like we did for our Shark Tank project, we will tend to see that consumers prefer the cheaper price rather than the more expensive option for a product. The demand for a product may change due to consumers' income, tastes, expectations, and prices of other related goods. If there was another business who sold either a more quality burger or even a cheaper burger, one might shop at that business instead. An example of expectation and taste would be cars. When cars were first produced, they were simple. They got us from point A to point B. However, today, cars are used also as a showcase item, a luxury item. Some people use cars to show off their money or just to say that they have this specific brand of car. Our taste in cars have changed dramatically throughout the years and no longer has the sole purpose of getting us from point A to point B. Quantity supply is the amount of goods that sellers are willing and able to sell. Supply and demand work together. If the demand for a product was low, then the businesses would supply less, because why would you pay for extra products that will not sell? An example of supply and demand could be a new iPhone. Most consumers would likely love a new iPhone product because their previous phone isn't working well or they just want to stay trendy. Now, when Apple releases this new iPhone, they're expected to have a lot of consumers, which means they're going to have a huge inventory of these iPhones to provide for that demand. Apple will also need to keep in mind the expectations consumers might have for a phone today. That could be a better camera, more screen, or a higher security system. Now, 10 years later, when demand of these new iPhones from 10 years ago decreases, their supply of the iPhone will decrease as well. For example, flip phones. No one has those anymore, and I doubt that many produce flip phones anymore. They were created, I don't even know, like 20 years ago, and no one uses them because technology has advanced. As technology advances, old technology isn't seen as useful in our lives anymore. Usually businesses want to stay in the equilibrium, where the level of supplied equals quantity demanded. If you don't have too much inventory and you don't want to have too much inventory and not enough demand, but you also don't want to have too much demand and not enough inventory. If there's a surplus, that usually happens when prices are higher than the equilibrium price, as well as quantity supplied is higher than the quantity demanded. Suppliers will lower the price to increase sales. A shortage happens when the price is lower than the equilibrium price, as well as supply demanded is higher than the quantity supplied. Suppliers will raise the price due to too many buyers chasing too few goods. If Apple had a huge demand on these new iPhones, they would likely raise the price in order to gain more money. Now, the business cycle allows people to understand the direction the economy is going, aka GDP. This allows for government, businesses, and even individuals like you and I to plan accordingly. The business cycle can go from expansion to the peak to contraction and to the trough. Expansion occurs when wages increase, low employment, people are optimistic and spending more money, high demand for goods, it's easy to get a bank loan, and businesses make more profits. A peak occurs when the economy stops growing. The GDP has reached its maximum, businesses can't produce any more or hire more people, and the cycle begins to contract. Contraction is when unemployment increases, people are pessimistic about spending money, and banks stop lending money. Finally, there's a trough. This is where the economy bottoms out. High unemployment and low spending occurs and stock prices drop. A prolonged contraction is called a recession, which occurs when the contraction is for over 6 months. Unlike we have had before and seen in the US before with the Great Depression, this occurs when a contraction has happened for even longer than a recession. GDP was created during the Great Depression in order for us to now see where the economy is going and plan accordingly. Back in the Great Depression, the US didn't know what was going on, and we were naive about our new economy. Utility is the usefulness of products that make our lives better. They are useful. It satisfies our wants and needs, including self-interest. We buy products that have the most utility, and businesses produce products with the most utility. Marketing tries to improve existing products and services, develop better products and services, and change how products and services are delivered. Form utility is a product's tangible form, like the 5 senses: taste, smell, sound, and touch. We want something that looks good, tastes good, and sounds good. We prefer food that is different or is healthy for us, at the same time tasty. Time utility is looking ahead, anticipating a demand or change in demand. We have place utility, which is the convenience of a location for products and services. For example, in Arvada, there is a Starbucks on one side of a really busy street, and right across the street there's a King Soopers with a Starbucks inside. Starbucks is a huge company that produces a very popular item, coffee. Coffee is consumed by many individuals and is sometimes a necessity for someone. Having a Starbucks on literally every corner of a street provides place utility. And then there's possession utility. That is, usefulness or happiness created when ownership of a product is transferred from seller to buyer. For children, possession utility occurs when the parent buys them a Barbie or stuffed bear. There is no other usefulness to the product besides creating happiness and entertainment for the child. Possession utility usually occurs during businesses and Christmases. Businesses during birthdays and Christmases. Businesses create advertisement looking at these 4 types of utility. Being able to satisfy these types of utility will bring them more consumers. There's always competition in the market, so businesses will change their utility in order to bring in more consumers to demand as well. There are so many restaurants and businesses who produce burgers and ice cream that are so similar to each other. However, based on their marketing skills and how they present their product, may create a different reaction from consumers. For example, would you rather buy a burger from a place who advertises their burger as cheap, simple, and fast? Or would you rather buy a burger from a place that advertises their burger as warm, delectable, and sensational? Advertisement is a huge part of determining a business's success. There are some products that are considered commodities. These are products that are the same no matter who produces them. Milk and apples are examples of commodities. Milk is exactly as it is. It won't change. Sometimes businesses can't change how well the product is doing because they can't change the product. A grocery store like King Soopers can't increase the sales of milk rather than just changing the price because they can't change what milk is. Sometimes the government does get involved in businesses. Usually the government, if they can, tries to stop a monopolistic market, which is illegal. A monopoly is dominated by a single seller. They produce higher prices and there's a high differentiation. And there are oligopoly markets in which few large firms dominate a market, which is not illegal. There are businesses like Amazon who are technically characterized as a oligopoly market. However, some individuals would argue that it's more of a monopoly because of how many products they sell and all the different types of consumers that they advertise to. It started off as just selling books, and now it sells everything from food to clothes. Along with advertisement, there are also different types of business organizations that can cause a higher consumption of goods. A sole proprietorship is a business owned by an individual who operates the business by themselves and also makes all the profits. They make all the decisions and are the brains behind the business. However, they are legally tied to debts and liability. Now, this type of partnership is better for the business owner himself. He's able to keep all the profits of the products sold, but it does not have much relation to the consumers themselves. However, there are partnership organizations who are owned by two or more people. There is general partnership, limited partnership, and limited liability partnership, all of which have their own disadvantages, like arguing with their partners and drama causing business to fall apart. However, it affects the consumer like you and I more. A business owned by multiple people can provide a lot of different ideas which can lead to more goods and services. And we love decisions. It provides a better fight to competition as well. Now, every action a business takes creates externalities. Whether it be a positive or a negative externality, there are always consequences. An externality is the cost impact of one person or firm's action on another person or firm. Some externalities are negative, like pollution or drama, while some are positive, like providing more jobs to people, technological advancements, or creating a better community. Unintended consequences will either make a product or business more or less desirable depending if the externalities are positive or negative. A government can internalize an externality by imposing a tax on the producer to reduce the equilibrium quality to the socially desired quantity. An example of a positive externality would be the decision to stop smoking, which causes benefits to other people in society who suffer secondhand smoking. The decision to stop smoking was for the individual themselves to better their own health. However, while doing so, they also better other people's health and the society. An example of a negative externality would be a new business firm being built in a small community. However, it is causing pollution in the environment. The intention wasn't to cause pollution, of course, but rather provide a new good or service to the community, but the unintended consequences was pollution. The role of the government in these type of situations would be to regulate behavior or internalize an externality by using taxes or permits. The government's role in a society is to make sure that everything is in check and that no chaos is being created. In conclusion, microeconomics affects everybody. Individuals and businesses provide different necessities to each other while they create unintended consequences. We help each other. The household sector provides the labor for a business sector, and the business sector provides wages for people, and we pay for the goods and services of businesses, and businesses continue to create the products. It's a full cycle. Every single business and every single individual has an impact on the economy.